Do you dream about your next trip? You're in the right place. On the Time to Talk Travel podcast, we come to you weekly to share places to go and what to do when you get there. Let's dive into this week's adventure.
Welcome to another episode of Time to Talk Travel. We are going to be talking about Florida today, and not necessarily the part of Florida that most people think of when they're going, Disney, Orlando, that entire area. For a lot of families and travelers, they're trying to maximize that trip to the Sunshine State by adding on another destination. Maybe they're driving and they need to break up the drive. Maybe they want to add on a beach vacation at the end and get a little more bang for your buck, or maybe it's cheaper to fly into another airport. So today we're going to share some of our favorite spots to go before or after that Orlando trip in Florida to maximize that time. And Des, I'm going to lead off with you because you are from Florida. You are the resident expert here. Go for it.
I say where not to go. I was born and raised in Vero Beach. So that to me is great, but it's a sliver of the state. If you love turtles, there are tons of turtle nests and hatchings happening. Really, if you go late July, early August, you're almost guaranteed to see that. I have a lot of friends who love that.
Where is Vero Beach close to?
Vero Beach is north of West Palm and south of Melbourne. It's southeast of Orlando. It's about an hour and a half from Orlando on the Atlantic coast. It used to be where the Dodgers, LA Dodgers, had spring training. So that was a major draw for a lot of people. They don't do spring training there anymore. The beach is the draw there. It's just a very small, quaint town. The rules are no buildings over 4 stories. You're not going to see all the condos sprinkled around in a lot of the other beachside cities or the coastal cities. There's even a Disney resort there that is not Disney. A lot of people will go down to Vero Beach even for that from Orlando. There's a museum for sunken treasure where Mel Fisher has actually pulled up treasure. There's all kinds of fun stuff, but it is not at all your amusement park, big condo feel. But I can go on and on. I figured you guys want to add something. If you want me to talk the full hour, I can go regionally.
I will say, look at the weather. So many people go to Florida thinking they're going to Florida, packing swimsuits and whatever. And January, February, it can be cold. That whole northern part, you can still be quite chilly. It's not the same as Miami and the Keys. In the north, January, February, you're still wearing jeans and a jacket. We shall go farther south and change your wardrobe. But for now, right now, it'd be stinking hot. In the summer, you could be melty there. Be prepared for that too. It's like they are the big state. Where are we starting here? What portion of it?
Let's break up the state by quadrants. If we start in the Northeast, that's Jacksonville Beach. I learned to surf in Jacksonville Beach because it's not ridiculous waves. You can take surf classes there. You've got Ponte, Amelia Island, St. Augustine, Vilano Beach. St. Augustine is a great one if you want to feel like you're in Europe without going to Europe. During the holidays at Christmas, they light it all up. It's beautiful. That's a great spot.
A little bit more like Savannah and Charleston.
Exactly.
Lots of history, just old, good stuff.
That's the area and the things that I love, right? The history, Fountain of Youth, the old buildings, the forts. St. Augustine is great. They also have a great culinary scene. You can take brunch cruises on catamarans and lay out and tan and be fed on the water. So there's a ton of options in that area for sure.
They also have haunted tours. There's a lighthouse you can climb. Those are my favorite things up in the Northeast quadrant. Then when you come down across from Orlando-ish, if you're just driving due east, a lot of people head to that area, Cape Canaveral. There's a port there, Port Canaveral. So a lot of cruises leave from there. You've got NASA Kennedy Space Center. If you have anyone in your family that's into space whatsoever, is a must stop. There's the Cape Canaveral National Seashore, so you still have beach. If you can do the tour at Cape Canaveral, you'll learn all about the Space Center and the program. It's worth it, and it's incredible. A lot of people will book trips specifically to watch a launch. If you do, be sure to give yourself a couple days before or a couple days after the supposed launch, because weather will cancel launches day after day down there. I have seen people heartbroken because they've saved for years to go down there and watch a launch, and built the whole trip just to do that. Try to give yourself a little bit of time. If you can start your trip the day before the launch and then give yourself a couple days after, because it does happen where they have to wait the next day, and it might be a week. Sometimes it might be more, sadly. So plan other things to do while you're there.
NASA, and that's like the Treasure Coast, right? And
it is. And there's more than Kennedy Space Center. There are other things right along that lead you down into the Melbourne area and Vero Beach. And then you get into West Palm. And this is Richie Rich Row to me, and Mar-a-Lago, and all the other things head down. It just depends on the vibe you want. Have either of you done West Palm?
I've done West Palm. I actually had installations and work there for a little bit. So I was in West Palm and a couple of the other cities right around that area. And it was definitely absolutely extravagant. I remember the food being really fantastic there because you're getting closer to Miami. So there are some areas in towns right around West Palm that start to have the really good Cuban food and the good coffee. So I remember
basically
that.
Once you hit West Palm, just break out that credit card. It's just going to be the best food you've ever had, the best drinks, and the most expensive you probably paid for. You're looking at $20 cocktails usually. So Jensen Beach is my little stop right before we get down into that. And it's a teeny tiny town, and my kids sail there every year. So we spend about, 4 or 5 days. And I always end up there on St. Patrick's Day for the parade. And it's a hoot. It's like literally just the locals doing their own golf carts and like small town America parade. And we sit right on the corner on the patio, and it's fabulous. Just those little spots, just don't drive past them and go to the big ones. Stop in some of those little towns. They're super cute.
By all means, there's Hollywood and Fort Lauderdale. Hollywood has the big Margaritaville resort there that's super nice. There's a great boardwalk. It all just flows from there to me. And Fort Lauderdale, Miami. What's that?
It doesn't flow so well. The traffic between Miami.
Sure. Yeah.
You give yourself a lot of time. Check Waze on that one. But it's not far on it if traffic is good. It's maybe 45 minutes from Lauderdale to Miami, but it can also be like 2 hours.
And one thing to keep in mind along that coast in general, too, with your mention of traffic and everything, is there's almost like, I'm going to describe this incorrectly for Florida people, and I'm sorry, but essentially there is a sandbar of land running along the coast there that has stuff on it. So like the Eau de Palm Resort and stuff like that's across bridges from mainland Florida on the little strip. And going down that long strip on that one road can take a while. It's almost trying to drive from one end of Galveston to the other. And you look at it and you're like, it's a little island, but why did that take so long? So you have things like in that same area is Jupiter Island with they have the Blowing Rocks Park. I remember going there, but that was a long time ago.
I haven't done that. I'll have to do that.
There are some really neat things too. In Miami, there's Coral Castle, which is... Have you done that, Mo?
No, I'm like...
Oh, I did it in high school with my high school boyfriend. Coral Castle is a man built it for the woman he loved, and it's all the furniture is built out of the limestone that he did it himself.
Okay, it's not the one I'm thinking of then.
Yeah, labor of love. Lots of music videos get shot there. You do Coral Castle, you keep on cruising down. If you want to go all the way to the Keys, you are driving, like Naz said, you are on that road forever. People think, oh, it's just an hour south of Miami. No, that's just the tip. You might get to Isla Mirada, which is super cool too. If you were into the Bloodline TV series, they shot Bloodline down there. Talk about amazing things. Great fishing, great you could stay at Hawks Cay. You go all the way down to the Keys to Key West. That will take you hours. It's way on down. Then you have Fort Jefferson, I think it is, down the national park way at the end that you have to take a ferry to. Great. There's so much to see in the Keys. The sunset celebration every night as the sun goes down. Key West to me is phenomenal for a lot of reasons. It's a lot of fun. I don't think it's a place you really want to take your kids to hang out. You can. It's not like it's not family friendly, but it's more fun. It's more like a big old party. You do the crawl down the wall or whatever.
It's really more Jimmy Buffett. Sit on the beach with a rum in your hand. Yeah, not chasing kids down the...
That's one of the areas I haven't been to yet. So I used to tack things on a lot when I was on work trips, but the Keys was always a little more challenging. It's further from everything and there's weather to deal with and limited places to stay during some seasons, but it's somewhere I'd love to get. I want to back up for 1 second to say one awesome thing that I didn't realize was out of Florida into maybe like a year ago, and it's on my bucket list. Did you know you can take a ferry to the Bahamas from Florida
I
for the
knew you were
day?
going to say that.
Like,
Yes.
how cool is that?
That's what my
Well,
daughter
you're
just
really
did for
lucky your
spring
friend
break.
owns a boat and takes you over.
Yeah,
So
my daughter did that for spring break. Got on the ferry in Fort Lauderdale over to Bimini in the
Yep.
and
Bahamas.
there's tons of cruises
Yeah,
beyond that that go out of
yeah.
Fort Lauderdale and
Mhm.
Miami there too.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And I've spent
yeah.
a ton of time in Miami. My kid goes to school there. He's going to be going into his final year next year. And that city is, like I said, it's crazy expensive, but man, there's some fun things to do.
Mhm.
That's some of the world's best restaurants. The beaches, everybody wants to go to South Beach. I would visit it. I wouldn't stay on South Beach. Go have a cocktail, people watch. Maybe don't stay too late. You just got to have your wits about you. But like you were saying, like Coral Gables and Coconut Grove and the little areas outside of downtown Miami have just lovely shopping and restaurants and beautiful spots, not in the core of South Beach and Miami Beach.
Yeah, South
Mm.
Beach is definitely a different vibe. I
Yeah.
have stayed there. It was the first time I saw someone change out of their bathing suit into like regular clothes right in front of everybody,
Yeah.
right there on the beach, which does not happen in Vero Beach. Although I will say there is now a one resort, the Gloria Estefan's Resort in Vero Beach. A lot of Miami people come up for the quieter
Okay.
feel, so you get some Miami vibe.
Have you checked out the Versace mansion there?
Oh, yes, I did that in South Beach, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot to love about Miami, the culture, just all of
Mhm.
it.
Little Havana.
I had an adopted grandpa. My grandparents had passed away when I was born, and my best friend's grandpa, Grandpa Cinco, lived down in Little Havana, and he would sit there and play dominoes on the street. You
Mhm.
can still see this. It's just such a cool vibe.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
park in Little Havana. We went when my daughter was probably about, I don't know, 8 or 9, and she sat down every day. There's just old Cuban men sitting around playing dominoes. Most don't speak English. We went to the tourist store and got her a little set of dominoes, and she played at a table, and then this guy came over and totally taught her how to play dominoes just by saying, "No. See, no." Throwing dominoes back
That
at
might
her
have been
when
Grandpa Cinco.
it probably was. And then right across the street from there is a place called Ball and Chain, and it's awesome. It's
Yep.
always got live music going every day during the week. You can go and you just get your little salsa on and have a blast. And then El Cristo up the streets. It looks like a dive, and these are my favorite restaurants to find. Trust me, you can go super fancy in Miami, but if you can find the local dives, that's in any other place. It's the best. So it's El Cristo, and it's got amazing Cuban food and oh yeah, the coffee. Oh, I love it there. Absolutely love it there.
And I like when you get further outside of the city and in kind of the areas along the coast. I'm obsessed with fruit stands and the roadside
Yeah.
stops. It's one of the things I love because I'll see something and I'll be like, what is that? I didn't, and I love to cook. When they have those things on the cooking shows where they're like, identify these ingredients, I'm like, boom, I got it. But there's some fruits that I have seen in the Miami area that I didn't know existed before I went there.
Miami's cool. If you start moving yourself back up
Yep.
over to the west side of Florida, I don't know that section as well
Mhm.
until you get to like Anna Maria Island
Yep.
and Clearwater and Sarasota, St. Pete a little bit. But I know you're there a lot, right, Mo?
Yeah, so just to keep our geography going, if
Back
you're
up.
in Miami and you're going down to the Keys, then you're down there. Now, in that other section, there's a whole lot of not a lot. And so the drives from one side to the other, say you're going from Miami to Tampa, you
Yeah.
actually need to make sure
Yeah.
you have gas.
Yep.
Do not get out of your car.
This was a common thing for me. I had to do that crisscross drive multiple times because I would have accounts on both coasts. Obviously, there's nothing in the middle. And if you book a little plane, they used to have the tiny little hopper flights. I showed up once. I called it the Bumblebee plane. I was not expecting it. It didn't have a lavatory. It had the seat that in the back that folded up and was a toilet, and you pulled a shower curtain around you because it was only a 20-minute flight. And there was no cockpit door, again, curtain. My earring came out of my ear when they started the propellers and we were all standing next to that plane. Like, I tell you, it was the weirdest flight experience I've had. So I started driving because I'm like, I'm not going on the death plane. I'm going to drive.
I'm going to go through Alligator Alley
I
instead.
went
Yeah.
through Alligator Alley instead. So the things to obviously, yes, Maureen was 100% right on the gas and everything. The other thing is be careful about when you're driving. I used to do a lot of my driving in the evening into the darker hours because I'm not in accounts then. The alligators come up onto the road because it maintains heat. Think about an iguana laying on a heating rock. That's what
Yep.
the alligators do. Don't save the drive for like sundown late because they will come up to the road then, and they are not fun speed bumps.
If you're
Guys,
from the north, it's
it's
like
the
that. It's
whole
like
that
deer.
whole south section of Florida, it's the
I
Everglades. It's a
know.
swamp. Like, this
Yep.
that was their
Oh,
I
I
home.
get
understand
it.
there's gators and
Okay.
Oh,
nothing.
I
Yeah,
get it.
you're driving
100%.
through the Everglades. Yeah, okay.
100% understand that. Just saying there's a couple things that as you're driving through the Everglades may not occur to you. So as a Bostonian at the time that this first occurred for me, I was not thinking to myself, oh, if I drive at night, there are going to be alligator speed bumps on the road. It was not a natural train of thought for me. I thought, oh, there might be alligators. I don't want to break down and get out of my car. But I was not like, oh, they're warming their bellies on pavement.
See, things you
And
grow
they're
up
not
with that
little.
you
Like
just
they're
think
not
that's
cute
just
little
yeah. That
tiny
was
babies.
Yeah, that's what I grew up with. So to me, that's normal. So I do get if you're not a native Floridian, it's going to be odd. You're right about that.
It's
So
bizarre. It's just one of those things you have to be prepared for in the timing, or you may not realize it might not be the best time saving effort because you're going to have to drive slower and really pay attention. So if you're going from Miami, you head across and you end up near Marco Island, or if you're going from Fort Lauderdale, you're going to go across and end up near Naples, basically. And I've spent a decent amount of time in and around Naples, Fort Myers. I traveled down off of a Disney vacation to see the Red Sox in spring training and got a hat signed and all of that fun. So both are towards the tip of Florida, but on the Gulf Coast, essentially almost straight across from, again, Miami and Fort Lauderdale.
A roadmap. Go
Islands.
here, go here, go
I
up
know,
here,
right?
go there.
we started here going.
But Marco Island, I know, is a fun one. It's a common vacation destination for folks who are going to Florida and want to get some family time in. The beaches there are beautiful. One of the popular things there that I know that a lot of people think of or mention after they've been there, but some people were not ready for necessarily, is there are a lot of opportunities through the resorts to get your family photos taken and to sign up when you get there. So if you're going to that Marco Island area, outfits for your family to bring and book family photos while you're there. It's very easy to book them through the hotel. It's a great spot to get them done and have some beautiful photos.
Yeah,
We
cool
actually did
place to
them
go.
on the beach in Miami Beach, and yeah, there are some of my favorite photos. And now I don't do any photos here. I do photos everywhere else we go.
Mm-hmm.
Another cool spot on the West Coast for me is Anna Maria Island. That whole Anna Maria Island, Bradenton, leading up into Tampa zone is super cool. When you go there, it is like going to Florida the way it used to be, where people are just riding their bicycles in the road. And when the drawbridge comes up, the cars all stop, but everybody gets out of the car and goes talk to the guy behind them and waits till the boat passes and the drawbridge comes back down. We did horseback riding in the ocean there, in the river. That's super cool to ride a horse in the water. That
Can't
was
do that many places anymore.
Yeah.
No, they don't. It's old Florida to me. It's special. You
Oh, we
laugh
got to talk
now.
about Clearwater because I love the area. Let me clarify. I love Tampa. St. Pete is one of my favorites, St. Petersburg. But Clearwater just feels more touristy. It's definitely, and it's busy. There's tons of fun things to do. It's just crammed into square blocks, it feels.
Yeah, the opposite of Anna Maria Island.
Golf and I don't know, all the bar hopping, and it's just a different vibe. You know what I
I
mean?
feel like that's more of what you get up in the Panhandle as well. But let's stay with it. Is there something you wanted to say about Tampa, Naz? Tampa's pretty cool.
Yeah. So Anna Maria Island from there is, if you're looking, if you're going to Florida and this is your once in a lifetime trip to Florida, you're doing the big Disney trip, you're going to do a beach trip, the whole family's going. Anna Maria Island is that white sand beach experience in Florida where you get it without going out of the country. It looks like you're somewhere else. I know, Des, you said that as well, but it really is those white sandy beaches, unspoiled, gorgeous, beautiful pictures, relaxing beach vacation, going back to old-fashioned beach vacations, for lack of a better term. And so that entire area is beautiful, but then I think a lot of people write out what that area on the Gulf Coast looks like. They do start above Tampa and only look at above Tampa for Clearwater and everything. But again, Fort Myers, great place to visit. Naples, I think they were just named like the best city to live in the US. Now, I'm not sure I'm on board with that, to be very honest. But there's a lot to do in that area. And then that entire coastal area has the Circus Museum. Is it the Ringling Museum, I think? It's the one with the circus
I
guy.
think that's Sarasota, I
Okay,
think.
Sarasota. And then working your way up to Tampa. Tampa has a Cuban food and things like that you don't expect. There's cigar factories, like old cigar
Ybor
factories.
City.
Yes, Ybor City, and food and just a lot of experiences, including the zoo and Busch Gardens. There's so much to do in that Tampa area. I don't remember Tampa having that much stuff when I was originally traveling to that area, and now it is a destination in and of itself.
And then you keep on trucking.
Yeah.
You do.
Wait, what about me?
Sorry. Tampa, yes. Go for it, Mo.
We went sailing on Tampa Bay and
Mhm.
took a boat for 5 days and just went in and around there. And it's beautiful. And the yacht club was a resort. It was awesome. And honestly, St. Pete is one of the places that I would consider retiring to. It's got a great sort of, I don't want to call us old by any means, but a little bit mature scene, a little bit calmer than the Miami scene, but still awesome restaurants and cafes and shops and things just to sit out and have a beautiful drink next to the water. The St. Petersburg Yacht Club is gorgeous, and there's tons of art fairs, and the farmers market every Saturday is incredible. The flowers and the food and everything. There is a ton to do if you put in all of those things, from mini putt to a cruise on the bay.
I think I stayed at Tradewinds Resort there. Yes, and that's a neat one. They had a pirate show even, so that's cool.
I am always fascinated by some of the really unique things to do. The places you can see the manatees or the mermaids. Is that Weeki Wachee? Is that where the mermaids are?
The
Okay.
manatees are Crystal River,
Okay.
although you can see manatees all along the coast. Vero
Yeah.
Beach, we've got the Indian River, and the manatees swim right up to the dock. Same thing in the Keys. Crystal River is where a lot of people go. Do you want to keep going up now? Because now if we keep motoring up, then it's more of that vibe that Naz likes. Crystal River and all the way up into the curb around St. George and Apalachicola.
A lot of time I was making a massive beeline from Texas to Orlando and trying to fit stuff in. I like the area around Apalachicola, maybe because it's fun to say.
I can't say it.
I just want to tell people I'm going to Apalachicola. But that entire area is interesting to me because it's a little more rugged, a little more wildlifey, and it feels a little Louisiana, which I always liked, but maybe a little less gatory in the ocean than Louisiana does. And I know everyone's going to tell me there's gators. I know there are. I don't see them as much, which makes me feel a little bit better.
Apalachicola is where they invented the icebox. The refrigerator is what we call it this. So there's a museum for that there. There's a lot there. I used to live in Panama City Beach, worked for a TV station there. So our reach went all the way over into Apalachicola and then over to like Fort Walton on the other side. And so we covered a lot of that. There's St. George Island. There are a lot of really neat places to see all through there. Port St. Joe used to smell horrible because of the paper mill there, but that's gone. It's nice. They don't have the condos that you see so much of more in Panama City Beach and the others. It's more of that older vibe, in my opinion. Small town.
Yeah.
It's
And then the
but
same as you're going around the curve up into the panhandle there, Cedar Key is like a big artsy area. Again, more of that adult vibe. That's where you can rent a boat and go out into the wildlife refuge. There's a ton of tiny little islands and just a really unique spot, in my opinion. A lot of connection with the land and local ingredients. And it just has a very different vibe than that area of the coast for me otherwise.
if you like oysters, that the Apalachicola oysters used to be the bomb. St. John, all of that is great. Seafood in general in Florida is just gonna knock your socks off. Florida lobster to me is still better than any lobster you're going to taste in Maine because I grew up with it. We'd go lobstering every single year down in the Keys. And
I
that is,
believe those are fighting words with that.
oh, it is what it is. When it's what you grew up with, it's where the meat's mostly in the tail. Where you go north, it's mostly in the claws.
Okay, I would have to do a side-by-side comparison, which I'm happy to do if anyone wants to sponsor that
say.
for me. However, I do feel like we have to respect the fact that the Maine lobsters have really been through it. You've got a beach bum lobster who's laying around in Florida, and then you've got something that had to survive winter and avoid everything. I think we know why one might be a little, I don't know which one's tastier. Again, I got to do it side by side, but I feel like this is the beef versus the Wagyu beef that got like the massage and the beer. Of course, one of them is going to be happier.
It was a
Not nice
hurricane
for the
year.
Maine lobster.
Oh, just give me any lobster at this point. I do love my Florida lobster, though. I will fight that every day. That is delish.
Panama City Beach, because that one gets an interesting rep sometimes because it's known as spring break, party town. A friend of mine owns a condo there and it's gorgeous. And as long as we don't go at those times of year, it is amazing. It's a beautiful beach.
The beaches are still the same. They're still beautiful. Naz talked about the white sand beaches, turquoise, emerald waters. Again, the southeast part where Vero is the treasure coast, we're the emerald coast because the water is just this gorgeous emerald green and the sand was sugar white. And yes, Panama City Beach took a beating. It recruited for a while MTV to come there and shoot spring break, and they made a lot of money off it, and then they really regretted it because the families didn't want to come anymore. I will tell you, most from up here in Atlanta, when people go down, a lot of people do avoid Panama City Beach. They want 30A is what it's called. The whole ritzy area. It started with Seaside, which is the must-see by itself.
Yeah.
But their 30A has Rosemary Beach, which feels like Italy. It does. It feels like Europe all over again. It's a whole different vibe than what you'll see in Panama City Beach. Here, if you're not staying in Seaside, it's just not okay. But it's expensive, overpriced, and to me, it's all the same water. In Panama City Beach, you're going to have the condos and the tchotchke, the golf courses, whatever. But that's fun for the right group and in the right age. I had a house there forever. I lived there as a news director for the TV station. I loved it on that side of the bridge. But even on the Panama City side, they've done a lot of work revitalizing and making the whole St. Andrews Bay area really nice.
It's the one with the shell island thing.
Panama City Beach,
Okay.
yeah. It's the bridge connects them both, but you can take a boat out of either. There are Air Force bases. Tyndall's on that side of the bridge. Eglyn's over here by Pensacola or by Fort Walton Beach. And then as you head even further west, Fort Walton's nice as well. Pensacola right there on the border. That's where the Navy Blue Angels train. And you can go out there on a sailboat and be lying there watching the Blue Angels over your head back and forth. It's a different vibe, but it's also really special.
I don't know if I'm saying Navarre. Is that the one? Navarre. Okay. One of my friends swears by that because it's so close on the Florida coast for Texans as well. And it was always a favorite stopping point for her when they were going back and forth towards Disney because it was really family friendly. There was a lot to do and you want to make it through Louisiana to say you did it, but then there's not a lot of places to stop right after that. And then you can get through the other states so fast. You don't want to give up.
Yeah. Right there at the border is Flora-bama. That's a draw. Yes, it's a lot of fun. The bar is literally halfway in Florida, halfway in Bama, and they have a big mullet festival and throw fish over the border. What's that, Mo?
They know how to have fun, all the concerts and
100%. They do. And then right over the border, you've got Gulf Shores, Alabama, but that's a whole nother state we can talk about later. But it's just, I love all of Florida. I do. I'm a water baby. I'd love to get back there on the coast. And there are lots of cool spots in the middle. The one thing you do need to keep in mind in Florida, though, is it is hot and we do have hurricane season, June to November. It's much more active from September through October. If you're planning anything special in Florida, just know, have a backup plan, have a plan B, because there's every chance there's going to be a hurricane. And it is what it is. You plan for it. You'll hear about it for days in advance. We won't know exactly where it's going to hit. Or it might beat her up before it gets there. You never know. But that is something to keep in mind in Florida, for sure.
Yeah. And then I feel like we need to give a little love to those internal towns. I know for me, DeLand is one that I had been to a couple of different times. They have like the Ponce de Leon Springs State Park, and you can actually get persimmons there, which is not a fruit that's super common in the US, but it used to be called Persimmon Hollow. And I love persimmons, so that was the cool fact for that. And then just in that entire kind of Ocala's a little further in from the water, and that's okay. Yes, tell me how to say it.
Ocala.
Ocala. Okay.
Ocala. That's where all the
Okay.
horses are.
Yes.
You got Gainesville's north of Ocala. That's University of Florida and not much more. And then around you've got Tallahassee, which is Florida State, but it's also the state capital. So there's a little more than there is in Gainesville.
Through those, especially near a weekend, be careful because they are university towns and all the hotels can be booked.
Yep.
So if you're driving and you're like, oh, I'm just going to stop the night in Tallahassee, and you drive up and you're like, why is every hotel from the Motel 6 to the Hilton booked solid?
Yeah, from Ocala north to Lake City, and not just booked, but if there is something available, it's $800 a night.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything, it was 120, 150 any other weekend, any other day of the week, it's going to be $800 a night then. It's insane. It is one of those things you really ought to do once, though. College football games in the South are fun. They are the best. We don't care about pro as much. Yes, we love our Jaguars. We love Miami, the Dolphins, the Buccaneers, but college is where it's at for Florida. Yep. Big rivalries.
And I think that's why I ended up in a lot of random small towns in Florida, is because I learned very quickly. I like to book when I see how far I'm going to get the same day. It's one of my road trip just things I do.
Yeah.
And so I'd end up in these smaller towns that were a little off the beaten path sometimes if there was a lot going on, because you can't get everyone's doing the same thing. They're all driving on the highway. And then if there's something going on, there's no rooms. It's challenging.
One other thing to look out for, we have not mentioned Daytona, the Daytona 500. That's another massive draw there. So I happened to get stuck in that traffic the last time I was driving down. I'm like, why is it taking forever? Because I forgot Daytona 500 had been rained out on that Sunday and it was happening Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, I got stuck in that. But yeah, so I think we've covered the state pretty well, though. Apologies to the little cities we forgot, because there are a lot.
There's a ton of other places we could not fit. We'd be here all day if we were going through. So I think a couple of little things are, if you're thinking to yourself about what you're doing, if you're coming into Florida and you're going to add something else onto it, a couple of things to consider. One is really double check those flight and rental car prices before you book, and beware of the one-way drop. There used to be a lot of really great one-way fees and things that got waived in Florida as they tried to move cars around. They're not as abundant now. So don't think to yourself, oh, I'm going to come in Miami and drop my car in Pensacola and not pay some giant fee. Check that before you do the one-way trip. And the other thing is also they do toll passes. And if you don't want to pay the pricing for it through a rental car company, you can go into most drugstores or look online ahead of time and get one. So you're not paying the per day fee from the rental company for them to then pay the tolls for you.
I was going to say, they have the
Sun Pass
transponder, the transponder that you can move from car to car.
Yes.
A lot of the other, I'm in Georgia, my Peach Pass here works as a Sun Pass there.
And so my New England ones, so my Pike, whatever they call it now up here, works in a lot of different areas. It's mostly a concern if you're coming from like west of the Mississippi.
I was gonna say my Texas one is useless. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Even though sometimes it's called the Easy Pass in the same places,
they're not easy together.
You can get the portable. That's what I was saying. The portable transponder.
Yeah, I was wondering, do they still do those? Because everybody's got the stickers now.
Yeah, the most important thing is just to get your own, because if you're doing it through a rental car company, even if you only use it one day and then pick up your own, they're going to charge you for every single day of the rental if you use it once. And it can be anywhere from $4.95 to $14.95 a day. And that's a giant add-on expense. So I always watch for that with the tolls.
And the Canadians too. You drive down, you still need to get one.
Yeah.
And get the one that goes all the way down through the states, as you were saying, because you're going to get hit with all those tolls.
Exactly. Yeah. But we're huge Florida fans. Des obviously born and raised, so she wins as top Florida fan automatically, and respecting the Florida law. You didn't know you were getting that honor today. Oh, and she's got her cup and everything.
Yeah.
Awesome. If you're already going to Florida, spend some time. If you're going there for Disney, put in a little time to explore another area. Some of the places we've mentioned may be hours away. Maybe you don't have a couple extra days, but there are plenty of places to drive to within range of Orlando to experience something else while you are in Florida. So
And then see those gators not in Gator Alley and not on the road. Much safer way of exploring gators.
1000%. I
And
support
it's super
that.
fun. I mean, I have to tell you about this one crazy place, okay? Because I don't know. Have you ever heard of Desertland?
No.
Oh, I stumped Des. Yay. And it's called Desertland. It's this guy who like basically started New York, has tons of money, bought a abandoned mall basically to put his car collection in. He has like just hundreds and hundreds of cars. He has the largest Vespa collection. He has movie cars he's got the DeLorean, he's got the A-Team van, he's got the Batman, hundreds and hundreds of cars. This place has over 20 attractions, and we went there because it was pouring rain and I wanted something else to do in Orlando that wasn't the parks. So we went there. They had laser tag, they got axe throwing, they got mini golf, they got glow in the dark bowling. They have the most amazing James Bond collection of memorabilia. But this guy just bought them all and put all of his collection in. And I'm sure he's getting a much better tax write-off than keeping it stored places. But it is incredible. I went there thinking, okay, let's check it out for an hour or two. I called my husband and son, like, you got to get over here. This is incredible. It's so hard to describe. It's the weirdest place I've probably ever been. It is so Florida. But yeah, if you're looking for a rainy day, not far outside Orlando, check out Desertland.
Or if your kids aren't super clear on what Disney is and you're looking for a cheaper way to tell them you went to Disney, you just go there, play paintball, see the cars, all that, save a little money. Like,
no, ma'am.
Get a mouse on the way.
I've done that. It's not called Downtown Disney now. What's it called?
Disney Springs.
Disney
That's
Springs.
good. And Celebration, great shopping zones. You don't even have to go in the amusement park when you go there.
Yeah. They think we went to Disney. We did that many times driving through. Just like, whoop, little pit stop, keep going.
Yeah. We go down every year to Orlando for volleyball tournaments. Anybody who plays volleyball goes. And I
dance or cheer.
But yeah, so we'll go to Disney. We won't splurge on the amusement park tickets anymore because we're older and we don't have the kids and we're exhausted by the end of the day playing volleyball anyway. But we will go to Disney Springs and get dinner. They've got Cirque du Soleil shows. They have every restaurant under the sun. They have shopping. It's fun. It's just a great way to kill a couple hours and not necessarily spend a ton of money.
For the hotels, you can see the fireworks from too.
100%. Yeah.
Just ask for a fireworks room and you got it all covered. And not that we don't love the parks. The parks have got some amazing stuff going on. That's just a whole other conversation because this is the things that the whole rest of Florida is more than the mouse.
More than the mouse.
More than the mouse.
Until next time, happy travels. And maybe we'll have a talk about the mouse one of these days.
And go Gators.
Go Gators. We'll let you close on that. Say one more time, Des. Go Gators.
Go Gators.
This has been another episode of Time to Talk Travel, brought to you by #travels.com. You can keep in touch with us between episodes by checking out our site, joining our newsletter, or connecting with us on social. We've always got the information you need in our episode notes. Until next time, happy travels, and thanks for being a part of our trip.